Hi, welcome to another episode of Juan Words Podcast. My name is Angelica Casares.
That was loud.
Yeah, that was. I told you I was loud.
And normally I don't wear my second earbud, and now I remember why.
Actually, we're both really loud.
Yeah. Are we?
Yeah, we're both really loud. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Juan Words Podcast. My name is Angelica Casares.
And I'm Juan Alanis. Thank you
Welcome
for being
back.
Here. Yeah.
Can I? Dang,
Okay.
man.
I was just saying that, but go ahead. Start again. I won't interrupt you.
Well, you just did again. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Juan Words Podcast. My name is Angelica Casares.
And I'm Juan Alanis.
Welcome back. It's been quite a while that we've recorded. I believe it's been, 4 weeks, 3 weeks?
I think it's
been a while.
Yeah, it's been I think we recorded one episode in February and then nothing else.
No, so this has been the longest that we've been away from this microphone and recording anything. Right now, the setup is so awkward and weird. The camera's so high up. I don't remember how we would. Anyway, long story short, we're happy to be back. We're here, man. It's been a journey. It's been a journey. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah, a lot has been happening, and it was like muscle memory trying to remember where exactly everything went because
I know things were everywhere.
Yeah, so I was like, it's weird to have the studio back, the studio's kind of space back together.
Yeah, because
we hadn't used it, and since I use this space as an office, I had all crap everywhere, so I literally just threw everything on a chair and wheeled it out of here.
You did. It's sitting out there.
So that's the behind the scenes tea on the show, but a lot's been happening this last month.
So you know what? Let's start there. Yeah, let's start there. Yeah. What the fuck happened?
Oh my god!
Fucking February and part of March, man. Oh my god. Okay, so first of all, I think we mentioned it on here. I'm not sure if we did, but we got our first dose of the vaccine in February, right?
Yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah, we did. We got our first one.
Did we?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it briefly because remember you went into an explanation of how we were we did it the right way and.
Oh, how I didn't want to be accused of getting it like backhand type of
before we were supposed to or something. And
yeah.
We qualified for it, so we got it. But we got the second one now.
So we got the second one. Well, first of all, here's what happened. All right. So February came and went, and I'm so far removed as to what February even was or is. So right around our anniversary, actually the 14th of February, it started to get cold. Mm-hmm. Unhistorically cold here in Texas, and especially here in Houston. And so I remember a couple of years ago we had some snow, but it melted quickly and it didn't last long. Mm-hmm. And then there was this thing called the winter blast snow or the winter storm or the winter something. And I was like, what the fuck are they talking about in Texas? No way. Not South Texas. There's no way, not Houston, not Galveston. It just doesn't happen here. We'll feel maybe a day. It's never lasted more than 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
More than 48 hours, at even 30 or 40.
And what happened?
That fucking winter storm came and froze every fucking thing.
It literally came. Everybody was I think for a moment we thought it was snow. We were oh, it's snow. And then you went outside.
No, there was no snow.
And there was no snow. It was ice.
It was
literally thick pieces of thick ice that was on the ground. That was literally
that was compiling. That was compiling.
Yeah.
That was gonna become into sheets of snow, sheets of ice, basically. But it was I remember being out there for a moment. I was shivering. I was this cold feels a little different. This one is hitting below the skin, below the skin. It's hitting my bones, and I was this is not the kind of winter that I'm used to. So
the ice wasn't the bad part. What was the bad part? It was the ice itself that was the bad part.
For me, it was the coldness of it. So all right, so that day it was coming up and it was coming on strong, and we were sitting there. I was thinking to myself, no, usually when we talk about hurricanes and we talk about all these other things, even hurricanes don't last long here. It's 2 days of maybe winds and storms and the thing is happening. But this fucking winter storm stuck for 5 fucking days. why am I cussing so much? I'm so sorry. I'm just so mad and frustrated at it. But it came and it stuck around for like 5 days, and I was like, why? Like, why couldn't you just like come, cause your chaos and your destruction and get on out of here the same way the hurricanes doing? But no, it like stuck around.
But what happened was that like it froze. It literally froze. So like, okay, here's the issue. It wasn't that it was cold.
I remember, I recorded that night that it got cold, and then we woke up and I was freezing that night before it started.
Well, let me say why though. Let me say why, because like it wasn't that it was just freezing in Texas or in Houston. It was that the city decided. Well, as you all probably have heard, Texas was definitely not prepared for this kind of weather, and so what the entire state decided is they were going to do rolling blackouts, and in Houston in particular.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
No, I'm not. Like I'm saying, like that's why we were like like cold is one thing, but the other thing is like the rolling blackouts.
Well, I wanted to go moment by moment. I wanted to go moment by moment. So here's what I was trying to do, moment by moment. All right, like I want to give you an insight as to what happened. It's my story, man. Let me just say it. So that night I recorded a few things, and then I was like, oh, winter's gonna come. It's gonna be morning. I'm gonna be cold, and no big deal. Our house sits on cinder blocks.
Like winter's coming.
Winter's coming. Our house sits on cinder blocks, and it's an older home, which means we don't have like regular insulation. Like our insulation is wood on the outside, wood on the inside, and then we have sheetrock. That's it.
The house was actually built in 1940, so it was built in 1940, but remodeled and like when we purchased it, it was like redone inside.
Yeah.
So it's an older home with old bones, but it is modernized.
Yeah. So our house is almost 100 years old.
Yeah.
So the idea that insulation, that thick insulation that most or like modern or like 80s, 70s, even 70s homes have this like thick insulation. Our house doesn't, which is why, and we like it like that because when it gets cold, it stays cool in here, and when it gets hot, we can still keep the house pretty cool. All right. So anyway. I go to sleep that night, and I remember thinking and I think we were fighting that day too. I don't remember, something like that, right? And then I remember getting up in the what else is new, right? Because we fight on here on the podcast also. But so I wake up like it's around 3 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's feeling cold now. Like what I felt outside starts feeling cold inside, and I was like, wait, the heater's not on. And then I'm like, okay, all right, well, it must have, like, the lights must have gone on. They'll come back. Usually we live in an area where they redid like some of the the power lines, and so usually and we're really close to the bayou, which means we hit a lot of like the factories, right? And so we get power because we happen to live by the factories, and so they power, like our street gets power fast really quick, and especially during hurricanes. And so I thought to myself,
when we bought the house, the street that we live on was being redone. So I think this is probably one of the newest, if not the newest street in the neighborhood.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was redone to like from a 2-lane, I think, to 4-lane.
To 4 lanes,
And so definitely they ran all new lines underneath, and they ran I think they replaced
electrical lines.
Yeah, the electrical
lines,
well.
And they redid some of the sewer system like underneath the streets. And I mean, so we live on a pretty good.
So we were kind of spoiled. Like we really are. We weren't expecting to be hit.
Yeah, hurricanes have came and gone, and 2 streets back they lose electricity, and we still have lights on. And I thought to myself, like, no, like they're gonna come back. It's not a problem. By the time I wake up, nope. 5 o'clock rolled around, I was still cold. 6 o'clock rolled around, I was still cold. And about 7 o'clock.
But that's where you forgot to mention it at that point, right? That the power was out because of the rolling blackouts.
Yeah, we didn't know.
Yeah,
we didn't know that the rolling blackouts were going to take place. Somebody mentioned that we might lose power.
No, I remember them saying we're going to do rolling blackouts, and as soon as they said that, I was like, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Like to willingly lose your power.
I don't know. I don't remember the conversation about rolling blackouts. What I do remember is that they mentioned that we might lose power.
Yeah,
that's what I remember. But 7 o'clock in the morning came, and I remember we were fighting because I woke up thinking to myself, and I wasn't getting good sleep. Again, because I was cold. And then I woke up, my poor husband, I woke up to the blaring sound of my fire alarm. Tell me what happened, Juan.
Oh, because what I did is like since we don't have working heater, so our heater in the house last year went out, and that was a whole whole mess. I think it was like last year, or the year before. No, it was pretty. I'm pretty
when
sure
it went completely out. That's right.
It was last year.
That's right.
And so I hired somebody to come in and repair it. And long story short, they were here for hours, and they couldn't get it working. And they took it all apart, put it back together, and they couldn't figure it out. And I think at the end I ended up telling the guy, you know what, just go ahead and go, because I don't think you can. I don't think it's fixable. And ever since then, we never got it repaired again.
Yeah, we were supposed to get the entire thing repaired. I replaced, actually.
Yeah, I was going to bring somebody else in because I think he was tired by the time he couldn't figure it out. So I was like, maybe I can bring somebody else in that, now that he's done some of the work, I can bring somebody else. But that that hadn't been a priority. So because we didn't have the central heating working, we were using heaters. Space heaters inside the house.
And they usually work.
And we had several of them. We had like 4 or 5 of them in the different rooms. And we were definitely being careful. Like I'm very obsessive about make sure that they're off and
He's
this
very
and that.
compulsive about it.
Yeah, I'm very compulsive about it. And so we had those. But when we lost light, then we didn't have any heater at all. We didn't have central. We didn't because the central is run by gas. So had the light gone out, we could have still had our central gas heat. Technically, I believe, but
no, but that thermometer
that's what I'm saying. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, maybe not. But
our thermometer is completely ran by
electricity.
Everything. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe that wouldn't have worked out. But we didn't have anything. And so what I did is I turned on the stove and I put water.
Why did you do this?
I put water in pots, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to boil the water just to see if it heats up the house. And it did. He started heating up a little bit. I did feel it a little bit warmer. But the bad thing that started happening is that it started creating humidity inside the home. And so
it's a cold house.
There were clouds of humidity going through the living room.
So here's what happened.
And wait, Lynn, you installed a dividing curtain that separates the living room.
I did.
From the kitchen. And so my solution was you know what, let me close that so that if there's clouds in the house, they'll only be in the living room and they won't go to the back.
Okay.
Well, when I did that, then all the humidity was concentrated in the living room, and the smoke detectors in the front picked up the smoke.
Not the smoke, they picked up the cloud of humidity.
Right, the cloud of humidity, which was they then started going off. And I couldn't get them to turn off, so I was blowing normally I'll blow with something at the smoke detector.
But the thing is that the water was sitting off. The humidity was sitting on it.
Yeah, and so there was water was starting to gather on doors and windows.
Yeah, so here's what happened.
That's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, so here's what happened when he started boiling water. It is cold. It was completely cold. So that condensation, it's not evaporating, and it sits within all the house. And so the idea is that gas heaters and space heaters, it's dry heat. And so it'll create, and it'll go up. Heat goes up, and the same way condensation and humidity goes up. And so it sat around. So first of all,
I just knew it was going to get hot. I didn't know about all that condensation and stuff.
Okay, well I heard my husband, you heard the and I was like, what the hell is that? And it was you running around the house. And I was like, what is he doing? What is going on? And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother. He's going to do what again, Juan has compulsive, he narrates his mind as to what he thinks is best, and so he has these these.
That's my problem-solving nature,
or so he thinks, obviously, right? And it didn't work out for him, but he does. He ran outside and turned off the water, and he did this, and he was
to my credit, my turning off the water was to our benefit. So we can talk about that later.
We can talk about that. Not really.
When we get to that part of the story.
Not really. Okay, not really. Let's leave. Okay,
you gotta give credit where credit is due.
Sometimes. All right. So anyway, so I'm waking, I'm in and out of sleep, and I'm waking to my husband running across the floor of the house, back and forth, and I'm like, what is this man doing? What is he doing in the house? Anyways, I finally wake up to this blaring sound of, oh my God, to the blaring sound of my freaking alarm of the fire alarm, right? And it won't go off, and I hear him blowing these you hear the rapid whoo, 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 from the like from
it was a cover.
the cardboard.
It was a cover. No, it was the cover to Tupperware like box, like a tub box. Those pink boxes that you bought.
Yeah.
So it was those. I was using one of those to blow on the
So anyways,
fire alarm, and it wasn't going off.
Yeah. So I got up. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, at this point, Juan, you have to pull the batteries off of it to reset them, because they're that whatever it's sitting on them is not, it's condensation. Like it's sitting in there and until it dries.
One battery, and then the rest of them turned off. So
yeah. So anyway, so that's what happened. And then, and for the rest of the time, like I was like, we were the lights turned on for like a couple hours.
Tell them where you were, like where you spent the majority of your time.
So we're hanging out in the house, and I'm thinking like, no, the lights are going to come back on again. I'm convinced these lights have to come back on. And sure enough, they do. They come back on. Tell me why they come on for like 2 hours and they turn off again. And I'm like, no, this isn't happening. And I'm watching my poor cat, like she's under the cover right next to me, like really close to me, because she's trying to get warm and I'm trying to stay warm. And I don't know about winter. I don't know how to dress for winter, like actual winter. Like we're not northerners, okay? But you're supposed to wear like loose clothing, not tight clothing. But because you get really hot if you like layer too much, and at that point you have to take off and you're sweating and whatever. So I get frustrated and I go to the car. I turn on the car to warm myself up. And then after a while, I'm like, I'm going to go grab the cat. So I grab Becky and we're both sitting in the car. And I'm mad. I'm pissed that I didn't get sleep. I'm mad that I was woken from my beauty sleep, whatever it was, to
at
these
12 o'clock.
Yeah, to these blaring sounds of sirens for my. Anyway, so I couldn't do it. I sat in the car for hours and I was like, Juan, these lights are not turning back on.
But that was the crazy part.
Another night of this.
That was the crazy part, because a lot of people ended up sitting in the cars, which I didn't really like. I was like, why would you sit in the car? Like, it doesn't make sense to me, because I was like, you're gonna kill the battery. You're gonna use up the gas.
Makes perfect sense to me.
And I was like, I don't want to do that. And I didn't want to sit in the car. And so I was like. But then when I went outside to check on you or to ask you something, like I remember that their neighbors were sitting in their cars, and I was like, "What the hell? Why is everybody sitting in their cars?"
Because
like,
it's the fastest place to warm up. You have to understand, it's the fastest place to warm up and stay warm, because you're enclosed and you only got to turn it on for about 10 minutes and then turn it off for about 30, and you'll stay warm.
But I was wearing long johns. I was wearing 2 pairs of pants. I was wearing 2 pairs of socks.
You looked ridiculous.
I was wearing 2 or 3 sweaters.
You look silly as hell, man. I was like, what are you doing?
I was wearing a beanie. I was wearing and at one point
you had on 2 covers on.
Yeah, at one point,
sitting at a chair.
Yeah, at one point, because I was like, you know what? Let me just sit and
with the book
and not be moving around.
Whatever.
Let me just sit and not move around. So what I did is I went and I was like, you know what? I put on all the clothes, and I was like, you know what? Let me grab the big cover that we have, which is like the big comforter cover, and I was like, let me use that, and I'll cover myself. And I had like a scarf on and everything. So I looked like a crazy person, but I was like in the back and I was like, there's no light. There's nothing to do. Like, I don't want to use up my phone battery, like looking at social media. So I was like, you know what? Let me read a book. Let me reread a book. So I picked up the Caramelo book by Sandra Cisneros, and I was like, you know what? This book was good. Like, I'll read it and I'll like entertain myself for for the time to pass by. And I sat over there by the window and the chair.
You looked ridiculous.
The chair itself is like an office chair, but it has like
you looked ridiculous.
It's like an armchair. It's like it's comfortable. It's cushioned. So I was like, that's gonna also contribute to the warmth. And I did that, and I was sitting there reading. And
Juan, you looked cold. You looked miserable back there.
Well, can I finish my story?
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then I was like back there. And then I was like sitting there, and I was like, you know what? It's cold here, and I was so cold that I had like went and grabbed another pair of socks, and I put the socks on my hands so that I could like hold the book and I could like read while I was back there. Mm-hmm. And it was like it was cold. It was like really cold.
Yes, it was really cold.
And I didn't realize how like
you're so hard headed, and I kept telling you come to the car.
And like I didn't realize how cold it was going to get. But then you were able to we were able to go to your niece's house,
so
right?
yeah, so I called him. I was like, there's no way, like I need to figure out. So it started to, like, there was sun out, right? And I know that we can move around as long as the sun is out for a moment. We can navigate the streets a little bit better. And I was like, I need to go somewhere that's close by, and I need to be there fast before the sun goes down, because everything freezes again.
Well, what was bad is that the news kept saying, like, don't move, don't go anywhere, don't do anything.
Yeah, because they were in a warm studio. What the?
So I was like, well, we can't go anywhere. We're not supposed to leave. We're not supposed to do anything.
You, Juan. Juan does, like, I don't understand you, Juan. Sometimes you follow the rules, and then sometimes you don't.
Well, I was like, well, I don't know. I don't want to risk, because I was thinking more like, I was like, we just got the car. I don't want to risk like crashing the car, like sliding on ice. I don't want to do all that. So I was like, let's just stay here.
Okay, but yeah, I know that. Like you can still drive in cold, like even if there's ice on it, you just got to drive really slow.
Well, the thing is, like, our car's all-wheel drive, which when we finally decided to leave, I was like, well, we should be okay, because it's an all-wheel drive car. So like it's supposed to be able to drive in all kinds of temperature or like all kinds of weather. So I was like, we should be okay. I mean, it's not like we're in Denver, or like we're in like some city where it's like, or New York where it's like snow everywhere. Like it's just like a little bit of ice.
That's not the problem. The problem was the way it melted and the way it was being frozen okay. So here in Houston, and this is why I think Houston was like on the news everywhere. It's because Houston is known as the Bayou City, and we have lots of freeways, and we have lots of bridges, and it's very humid, which means water tends to sit, and it froze completely. Everything was frozen, overpasses, underpasses, everything was frozen. And so I told Juan, I was like, we got to get out of here. Like it was rounding like around 3:00. I was like, we got to go somewhere warm. And so I started just like calling like my niece. I was like, hey, did y'all have power? Where are you at? She's like, I'm at she's at her mom's, which is my sister. And I was like, wait, who's at your house? And she was like, it's completely alone. And I was like, can somebody check to see if y'all have power? Sure enough, she calls like a neighbor, and they do have power. And I'm like, can somebody open the door for me? And and I think a relative has I don't know if I just anyway, somebody had the key to the apartment where she lived, and so we were able to get in. And as soon as we got in, we turned on the AC. We turned on the heater, and we let Becky into the house, and we warmed up completely. It was night and day. It was night and day, because at that point, what really was funny is that we went from being in our house freezing, feeling like we didn't have no light, we didn't have anything, and cold.
And then going
cold.
from that to just going to an apartment, and it was warm, and we were just watching the news, and we were like, oh, look, Houston's freezing.
Yeah. We were able to even comfortably cook something to eat.
Yeah. But it was like, oh yeah, Houston's we were oblivious to the actual reality, because we were warm at that point. We weren't dealing with it anymore. And of course we made fidel. You made fidel, and it was good.
Fidel with frijoles.
Fidel in the middle of the freeze tasted really good.
Yeah. And we hung out on the sofa. We fell asleep. We woke up, and we were like, okay, well, I guess we go back home.
Well, by that point, they were saying that the light had come back on.
Yeah.
And
we thought it was over. We thought it was over. Again, we didn't expect 5 days of it.
So we come back, and I don't remember exactly how it happened, but we come back, and there was power. And then the power went out.
And this is when we started learning about rolling blackouts.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah. And then at that point, you went outside to the car again, right? For the evening, you were like, I'm going to go to the car again. And you were telling me, let's sleep in the car tonight. We can sleep in the car, the car, the seats fold down, and it'll be warm, and we can all, we can all lay in the car. We fit there. And I was like, I don't want to lay in the car because my back's going to hurt, because my back had been bothering me. And I was like, I know my back's going to be messed up if I do that. And I was like, I don't want to sleep in the car. So that day,
on day three, we were back home.
Yeah. And so that day, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it Mexican style, and I'm just gonna get all the covers in the house and put them on top of the bed, and then I'm gonna and then I'm gonna get under the covers. And so what I did is I did that, and I went and laid down under the covers.
And then you got naked underneath because you got hot.
Yeah, and then but that was my intention. Little by little, I started as I got warmer, I was like, let me take this and this. I take everything off, and I was laying under the covers. and it was really warm then. And then at that point, you were like, the lights came back on, like around midnight or something. And then I text you and I was like, hey, the lights came back on. And you were like, yeah, I see the neighborhood is lit. And I was like, okay, we'll come back. Like, are you going to come inside? And you were like, yeah, I'll come. And I'll come inside in a minute. And then you came in and you got under the covers. And then, like, in the middle of the night, we woke up and there was no power.
Freezing. We woke up freezing again.
There was no power. And so by that point, it was like, it's too late to get up and out and get dressed and everything again. So we stayed in the bed. And in the morning, it was another
sleepless night.
Yeah. And it was funny. It's like the heat came on, or the light came on again at night in the middle of, at some point, but then it went out again. So it was like, they were like trying to like, okay, let them go to sleep. And then we'll turn off the power. And then by the time they wake up, they'll have a little bit of power. You think that's what the electrical
company was thinking? So. They were like, oh, they think they're all warm inside their house asleep. Let 2 hours of sleep. Turn it off.
Yeah, let them go to sleep. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
They won't notice.
And I think the majority of people were probably waking up like us. Like, oh, it's cold. Like,
my back hurts just thinking about how cold it was.
And yeah, so that was basically, I guess day 3. And then at that point,
day 3, there was another sleepless night. And I was like, I looked at him. I was like, we can't do it again. There's no way we can do 2 nights. And so I called my friend. I called my friend out there way in Rosenberg. I was like, hey, because it was day 3. I was like, hey, are y'all like, she kept telling me, we're not losing power. We're not losing power. And I was like, so her division, it's a new subdivision, and I think that they weren't getting rolling blackouts.
Yeah, and I think it was the area for some reason. I don't think that area was hit as hard.
Yeah, they weren't getting any rolling blackouts. Yeah, and so I was like, what the hell? Like, how is she not losing power? And so I was like, you know what? Make room for us. We're on our way. And so we head over there, and as soon as we walk into her house, it's warm. Completely warm. So at this point, I stopped at Academy.
I think at this point we were like 4 days in, and
this was day 4
when we hadn't showered. And
yeah, this was day 4. We took our clothes to take a bath.
Yeah,
I had been over 48, almost 72 hours of not showering at all or taking a bath.
Yeah.
So we packed our clothes. We stopped at Academy, bought a cage for Becky because they have a dog, and she was back and forth in the car, like she just looked tired, and so we went to her house. Academy just happened to be open, and I bought a cage, and we show up at her house. We walk in and we're like, hey, can we take a shower? And she's like, yeah, go ahead. So we're all there, like, just she was fully vaccinated too, so we were all there just like hanging out. And then we go to sleep.
Before we went to sleep, the light went out for like an hour.
Not even. I think it was 20 minutes.
Like there, I was like,
all of a sudden, 20 minutes. Like, we were it wasn't even long.
All of a sudden, the light goes off, and we're like, "Oh, welcome to the rolling blackouts."
She starts like freaking out because it's the first time.
She starts bringing out candles, and like she doesn't bring out like candles. She brings out like the little like tea lights, tea candles. And she's got like a ton of them.
The ones that last for like 15 minutes.
They're all like used, like halfway used. And she's like carrying around these like tea. She's like, "I've got candles, guys,
just in case." And she has like these little tea candles, and we're like, "What the hell?"
I was like, "What are we gonna do with that?"
No, but she loses life for like 20 minutes, right? And then she starts freaking out. She starts texting everybody. She's like, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do. And I'm like, you back up on your bullshit, don't belong to me. You acting all sleazy, I don't like what I see. I got all the game, don't get fucked in your brain. I can do you worse than you ever did me first. Hey, this is Angelica Casares.
And this is Juan Alanis.
Thank you so much for joining us on season 2 of Juana Words Podcast. You can find us on
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, on Stitcher, Spotify, and other platforms. Also on our website at juanawords.com. And we hope you enjoyed the episode that you're listening to right now.
And if you enjoyed it, you can leave us a review and a thumbs up. Especially on the Apple platform, the higher ratings and the reviews we get, the more listeners we actually can be found by.
Yeah. So it really does help us. So we really would appreciate it, a rating or a review on Apple Podcast. And until next time, thank you.
See you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Back up on my piece shit, I don't care if you don't like it. I'm really different, don't gotta show you I'm like that. Like the baby.
So she lights come back on, and she's like, oh, I guess we're okay. And I'm like, I think we're fine.
So we're like, play the next movie on Netflix.
Yeah, no. So we were just hanging out, and finally she goes to bed, and we go to sleep, and then the next day she has to go off to work, and we're like, all right, well, we gotta go. Hopefully this time when we go home, we'll have lights. And so we left. We came home, and sure enough, we had lights. But guess what?
We didn't have water.
No fucking water.
So everything. So when we walked in, everything that had water was frozen inside the house. So
broke. All of it had broke.
No. I'm saying everything that had water inside the house was broken. So like
it was frozen.
Yeah, it was frozen. So there was like there were plates. There were plates in the sink.
That had water.
They had water and they were frozen. The toilet, like where the commode is. Like I took it off and it was frozen.
The water was frozen, yeah.
Everything pretty much was frozen. Like
everything
the
in the
sink
house
was frozen.
It got so cold in the house that everything that had water had frozen.
Yeah, the sink was frozen, and then like we noticed that the sink in the kitchen, like on the neck, it was busted.
It was split open from where it just had a little bit, where it had water, and it just split open on top. So our entire house was frozen from the inside. Yeah, so if we had frozen water inside our house, there was absolutely frozen pipes everywhere. And so
the good thing is on our house is that it's because it's lifted, like all the majority of the line,
plumbing
water
goes
line,
underneath,
runs underneath the house. So it's you can access it because it's tall enough that you can crawl under there. But unlike a lot of people that we were seeing on social media, like where their pipes froze and they busted the sheetrock, and then it like froze in midair.
And this is not people that we
didn't.
Not people that we've seen on social. People we knew.
Yeah, like we didn't have that issue. Like our water had like. Our pipes had busted under the house.
Yeah,
and there were a few inside the walls, but because before we left, I turned off the water, so when it busted, it didn't throw out water because the water was off.
Yeah,
but it was just like.
So people
it was a little small fix, and it wasn't.
Yeah, so people had frozen water like in their walls because their water like runs through like the walls. You know what I mean? So from like either room to room or like from kitchen to seat, from kitchen to like restroom or anyway. So anyways, they were having like water come through the walls. Or they have 2 stories, and so they have water running between the.
It just depends on
between
how
the levels of the house, and so anyways, they had water like coming through like their walls. And some of them didn't turn off their water, which means it was like just protruding into their house and it was just freezing everything. But Juan had turned off the water, and so that wasn't happening in our house, which was good, absolutely good. But the thing is that we didn't let the water run completely to where the water like left the pipes in the house.
It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered because I think the majority of the neighborhood
right. I don't think it would have
had like the same issue. Like I think a few days later, when we brought the first plumber out, there were like I saw that everybody was like like looking over, like, is that a plumber? Is that a plumber over there? Because I think after it happened, plumbers were like in very high demand, so you couldn't find a plumber.
Handymen were in high demand.
You called the companies, like, so first of all the TV stations, all the commercials on the news stations were plumbers.
Yeah.
And then you called those companies, and they were like, oh, the lines weren't going through because they were so busy.
Yeah.
Or if you got an answer, it was like, yeah, your appointment is going to be in a month from now. And you're like, what the hell?
Like,
how's that?
No,
they were like,
your appointment April. We're like, April? Hold on. No, so it had thawed out at this point because we were getting direct sunlight. So anything that direct sunlight hits, usually it warms it up and it thaws things out. And so it had thawed out the plumbing, and so we turn on the main line and we look under the house, and everything it looked like sprinkler system underneath our house. Like everything was just broken everywhere, and I was like, fuck, I think we're gonna have to replace everything.
And so it was crazy. So then you start calling around, and you're like, do you know who knows a plumber? Like, does anybody know a plumber? And like you start reaching out to people, and eventually like we found a plumber, somebody who was able to come out and look at it. And I think he got here like at 9 a.m, and I think he left like at what, like 6?
No, it wasn't that late. It was still daylight.
Like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Like 3, yeah,
like 3 o'clock.
He was here for about 6 hours.
Yeah, and he was like under the house, and I was like,
yeah.
I was with him. Like, obviously, I'm not a plumber.
He hired you were the hired help for your own
I was
job.
I was like underneath the house, like watching and just seeing how bad it was. And he fixed. I think I counted. It was 18 burst like line. He fixed it. Look, I was collecting the pieces, and he fixed 18 of them. And he turned on the light, and it was the water, and it still was leaking.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh crap. And by that time, the guy was exhausted, and he was like, I think, he was just like, okay, he was like, he didn't want to say I give up, but he was pretty much like, I give up.
Yeah.
And then you came out and you were like, well, what's going on? Like, oh, shouldn't we just replace the whole line? And then like,
yeah, he was like, you know what? Yeah, just replace the whole line. Just pay me for my time.
He didn't even argue. He was just like, yeah, I think she's right.
Yeah, he was like, just replace the whole line. Go ahead and pay me for my time. And
I was like, man, that's crazy. Like, he was just done. I think he was done because like his energy completely shifted from when we started, and we were talking and this and that, and he was like, yeah,
he was done.
And by the end of it, he was like,
I just want to go home.
I just can't allow this. Is too much. Like, your guys have too many leaks.
Yeah. So our house, like we explained our insulation in our house, and so because based on the way the house is insulated, we have draft that goes underneath the house because we're on cinder blocks, and it's like it's completely exposed. Our plumbing is completely exposed to the element of especially winter and summer. So, and
they did have the cover that you put on them, so that was running throughout the house. So even though they did have the insulation around it, they still burst.
Yeah. So there was nothing that our house was gonna like. It just that winter storm just came and ruined our plumbing completely.
And for some reason, I thought like because it was copper lines, I was like, oh, well, maybe it'll be okay. But no, that didn't matter.
No,
that didn't matter at all.
Yeah, the elements don't care. So, anyways,
crazy.
So long story short, my brother came, and he did some repairs. He did some repairs and didn't leave my house till 2:00 in the morning. But when he left, we had a working toilet.
Yeah.
The first night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was amazing, but with the working toilet, that was it.
Yep.
That was it. No hot water, nada. Not even a shower,
and
not
at that
sink.
point, we were like going to your mom's house because your mom had water. So then,
we were hauling water home.
Yeah, we were at that point. We were going to your mom's house to take showers. Yeah. And then
I completely skipped over hauling water from the water mill to the house.
Yeah, and then we went to Juana's house again one more time to shower there. Yeah. So we were like going to people's houses to shower because we were like, and not every day because I was like, I'm gonna hold out as long as I can.
Yeah, you were.
I think my longest was like, I don't know how long.
3 days,
like 3
homie.
4 days,
yeah, it was. It was quite. I was like,
my hair was like super greasy, and I was like,
can you take your shower?
In all my meetings, I was just wearing this hat. I was like, and I probably looked really shiny on the camera. And then it didn't help that I was like, yeah, like I'm still working on my plumbing. We still have some issues, and they're like, yeah, we can tell. Like looking at your greasy ass face.
So anyway, so we had all that working out. Finally, like I said, we got toilet, but we were hauling water from the water mill to where you pay. We have these buckets that we were like hauling water to we can flush our toilet. And I'm so grateful for my brother. That's the thing that he focused on was the toilet. And so we had running water in the toilet.
But it wasn't that bad to haul the water and to like
no, it wasn't bad.
It wasn't that bad. Like
it wasn't
we
bad.
had like training because when we would go to Mexico,
we did.
It was a good training because it was just like as long as we had the tubs. So you had the big tubs that you had bought. Yeah. And we took 2 of the big pink tubs and we put them in the shower and we filled those up. And then we had the cat litter. The cat litter, the big boxes that they sell you. We had like 3 of those and those.
Yeah, we had saved for some reason.
Yeah, and then we started like filling those up with water. Yeah. And then we like found random bottles everywhere. Like, and any bottle that we found,
like the gallon bottle or the 5-gallon bottle. So we were hauling water. We were hauling water to wash dishes, to wash our hands. We brought drinking water and then to flush the toilet. But one of the things that I missed the most was like actually washing my hands. Like it was so difficult to even wash your hands, and I was like, damn it.
And
that's one of the things that I missed.
Kind of cold.
It was still, it was still a little cold. Yeah. Yeah.
like imagine brushing your teeth with like cold water and like having to rinse with cold water. It was like not fun. I was like that was not cool.
Yeah.
But I was still able to make my coffee.
So anyway, about a week later, like I said, we had a toilet, we had a running toilet, and finally, what are we? So it happened the 15th, and we're March 11th. Yesterday, March 10th. Yesterday, we now have a shower.
Yeah. So your brother and your brother-in-law
came
worked
by
together, and they managed to fix it, and it was crazy because
and we have hot water.
It was crazy because like what it was that wasn't repairable is that it was inside the wall.
Yeah, it turns out
because our house is an older house and it doesn't have, like you said, it doesn't have the traditional. I always forget what the name
insulation.
Insulation. It has sheetrock, and then it has wood and like thick wood, not like the little piece of wood, but like thick wood, and then it has the outside. And so they had to cut through the sheetrock,
through the wood. To
which
get to the
we were both like
plumbing.
I think like looking at them cut through the wood like
because they're cutting directly through. Some people like who lived in brick houses had to cut through the brick
to
get to their plumbing.
Man, that hurt to see them cut through the wood because I don't know. I'm like I'm gonna have to hire somebody to come fix the poor wood.
So it turns out that it's our plumbing that did go like up through the shower and that did go like up through the sink of like the restroom and the sink in the kitchen. Some of that stuff needed to be repaired, and so they came and our hot water, like the plumbing from the hot water is different from the plumbing to the actual line that comes. Anyway, long story short, they were able to fix it, and we have a shower and we have a sink. Kitchen sink, because we don't have a restroom sink. That one had to be pulled from the wall, like it had to be destroyed. So we don't have a kitchen, but I'm grateful for hot water. I'm so grateful for this modern Yeah.
I mean, in the meantime, we're like going through the process of figuring out how we're going to get it repaired and all of that stuff, and that in itself is an ordeal too. But at least I think, I mean, one of the things that when I called the insurance, the lady kept telling me over and over, she's like, wow, you're so lucky that your plumbing is under the house, because everybody that I've been talking to today, like their plumbing was inside the house. And so they had water, like they got flooded inside, or they had leaking from the roof, or their sheetrock fell down. And I've dealt with sheetrock falling before, and it's not fun. So I was like, oh man, and I like when it was happening, when I was thinking about freezing, that was stressing me out because I didn't remember that the plumbing was under the house. So I was like, oh crap, I don't want to come home and like see sheetrock everywhere, like wet sheetrock, because that's gonna like.
I remember our plumbing was underneath the house, and so I knew that if we were gonna have any water, it was gonna be like flooding outside the house.
I didn't remember that, so that's why I was stressing out about it, because I was like, oh shit, like I don't want to get home and find like a frozen waterfall in my living room. Like that's not gonna be cool. Like it's gonna cost a lot of money to fix.
If we had a sprinkler system, that's what would happen. Yeah. So anyways, so that is our winter storm story. Like we're still in the midst of like repairing our house and getting our house back into normal working condition, to where we can live in it and we're comfortable in it, and we're not ripping more walls out, which we probably still have to come the moment where we have to completely fix the entire, like I think I just mentioned this, we have to fix the entire plumbing in our house. Fortunately and unfortunately, because our plumbing is exposed to the elements and it's not through our walls, it was completely exposed, which means it's going to be costly for us.
Yeah. And I know, like, even though we're being lighthearted and fun and like trying to share this in a fun way, there were a lot of people impacted that had it a lot worse,
massively,
and that are probably still recovering a lot, or have a lot more of a long road to go than we do.
I can't imagine people.
I mean, not to, like, we definitely don't mean to make light of the situation, but just sharing our experience, because it was like pretty like unexpected. Like I feel like we lost an entire week. That week, like it was like you couldn't do anything else.
We've lost an entire month dedicated to 5 days.
But that week you couldn't really do anything. And the crazy part, it wasn't only just Houston; it was in the entire state. Yeah. So like everybody was like, from like work, everybody was canceling meetings. Everybody's like, we're canceling. nothing. We're frozen. We don't have light. We can't do anything.
The week of the 14th is gone, guys. We're so sorry.
And that's just, I mean, that's the part that was like, you know, and what was crazy is that they said, like, and then later they said, and I don't know how true it is, that they were like, that had they not done the rolling blackouts, that we would have been close to losing power for months. So we only.
Can you imagine that?
I know. Like,
good God.
That would have been chaos.
Oh my God. That would have been.
We wouldn't have known how to act at that point.
Yeah. That would have been like, what is that movie? Where they lose, like, they start to lose power a little bit, little by little.
Oh, and from that, then you got to, you know, shimmy up and like rub shoulders with somebody pretty up there, huh?
Oh, AOC.
AOC.
Oh, AOC. So when I stress out,
you're like, who?
Like, who? So when I start to stress out, I get in these moods where I need to do something else. And the only way to do that is to, like, I need to get out of myself. And so I don't know how this is going to come across or sound, but I like to help, and I need to help immediately, because the worst thing that the feeling is that I can't help myself, and if I can't help myself, I need to help somebody else somehow, and so it's keeping yourself busy also. And so the different opportunities came to volunteer. People were donating water, they were donating resources and stuff, like because of the rolling blackouts, everybody had prepared, and so the lights on and off. Guess what? Everybody's like refrigerator, everything that was perishable kind of was no longer good. And so anyway,
so what she did is that she did a fundraiser on her own, and so she was able to raise, I guess close to like $5 million. And
I think at the end, yeah.
She ended up coming to Houston to deliver that money, and also as part of that, she was visiting several nonprofits.
Yeah.
And we happened to be volunteering at one of the nonprofits where they were doing a water distribution, and so she happened to be there.
And then she happened to come exactly where I was at.
Right, at our station.
Our station where we were distributing our water. She came to us, and I took it upon myself to be very her friend.
Yeah, you warmed up to her real quick.
I sure did.
Hey, so how's it going?
Where did you go to eat? What did you do?
She mentioned because she was with Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia from Houston, who represents our area, and then you were like, she said she happened to mention to somebody, oh yeah, like she even took me to eat tacos this morning, and you were like, oh yeah, where did you go eat tacos?
No, I asked her, I said, how do you like Houston so far? I was like, where have you gone to go eat? And that's when she mentioned the taco place. Okay. And I was like, what am I doing, Angelica? You need to back away from this poor girl. Like, you need to back like away from this girl, because I had this innate, she's tiny. And so I had this thing where I wanted to help her. I was like, oh, let me help you. She was like, oh, you know. I was like, okay, Angelica, leave her alone.
Well, I told you, like, I thought about it too, because I was like, should I ask her if I can hold the water? I was like, but then if that's going to be like, not like, maybe she shouldn't be like, I can hold my own water. And I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't say that. So I was like, let me just step back and not say anything.
So, but I see what you're saying, because your instinct is to want to help.
Yeah. And
right. She looks busy, and so you want to help her ease whatever she's busy like doing. Like,
because it was cases of water, and she's very like small, like you said. And so I was like, oh, maybe I can help her by holding it until she's ready to put it in somebody's car, and then she can just grab it and put it in, so she's not holding it the whole time.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't want to offend her, like making her think that I don't think she can hold the water.
I don't think she would have been offended, but the idea is that she was there to help and not us help her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I was like, okay, I wanted to be her friend. You know what I mean? And I was like, I need to leave her alone. And so I had to like walk away. But for a while I was like just trying to like chit chat with her the way I always do with everybody. Like, I do that with everybody who I meet and come across and come in like contact with, and if I know part of your story, and I haven't met her before, but I feel like I know part of her story. And I felt like she seems like a cool person. You know what I mean?
She's definitely relatable. So
so I was like, I'm not trying to befriend her, but I was trying to like, I don't know, make her feel welcomed. And so I kept trying to do that. And I was like, no, Angelica, you need to back away from this woman. Leave her alone. Yeah. So
she was really sweet, actually. She was really sweet for the few seconds that we got to spend with her. She was really nice.
Yeah. No, she was there for a while with us. She was there for like 20, 30
like
minutes.
A few seconds that we got to interact with her.
Yeah. Oh, she was crowded the entire time. Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't want to be like, hey, like, but that was one thing that was really cool is that a lot of people like were reaching out and asking like from other states. They were like, hey, how's it going? How are you guys doing? We're thinking about you and this and that. And so that was pretty cool. Like that people like that we knew personally were reaching out to us and just checking up and seeing how things were going. And then a few days later, you were able to volunteer again with the Latino Hispanic Star, right? Organization.
So it's called the Hispanic Star.
Hispanic Star.
It's called the Hispanic Star. Yeah. And I was able to volunteer again with them, and they were doing again distribution, but this time they had like cleaning stuff, like to clean the house, and then they had a few like other like items like to replace like items that you might have lost. Yeah. So, and they also had like batteries in like the care package. But yeah, that was amazing again. I was able to do that again with Hispanic Star, and and I think from there my friend was like, hey, so I see you're volunteering, here's another volunteer opportunity. and we were able to volunteer again also, doing something completely separate, completely different.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was good. I mean, it was like to see all the response, like that people like really like were like, oh, let's help Texas and this and that. And even though like we were affected, but I don't feel like we were affected like the worst, like the worst that we could have been affected. So, but I do like, I mean, I think we do realize that there were a lot of people that were affected worse.
We're very grateful that we have family and we have friends who were more than willing to put us up and be like, hey, just come stay the night, stay warm, take a bath, and do what you got to do. And it was definitely a break from like our cold house, and knowing that stuff was wrong with our house at the moment. It was a way to get away, and I definitely gratefully very much to my niece who let me stay the night at her house, to my best friend Juana who let us sleep on her couch, let me bring my cat with me, and we were just very, very, very grateful. Yeah.
So no, and I think one thing we've learned from living in Houston is that when one thing happens once, the likelihood of it happening again is pretty high. Dang. We're preparing ourselves this time to get ready for the next storm. We're sure there's going to be another freeze at some point.
If not next year, then either a year or two from now. So we're preparing, which means we have to fix our central heating system, and now we
replace our plumbing line
with better plumbing. With better pipes.
Better pipes. We had lay down better pipes.
I don't know if that's the term, lay down better pipes.
I know, that's what I was saying.
Jesus heavens.
No, but that's our freeze story. It's
our winter freeze.
That's our winter fun, winter spring story.
That's our Texas 2021 winter freeze storm.
What do they say? Story time. That's our story time story about the freeze in Houston in Texas.
That wasn't very entertaining, but if you found it entertaining, let us know where are you? Do you live in Houston? Did your pipes freeze? And if they did they burst into your home? What happened? How did it go? And if you live in up north, how do you deal with this? Please tell us, let us know. What do we do? How do we prepare better for this? Because we can prepare for hurricanes. Like, I can run around circles and everybody tell you how to prepare for a hurricane. I'm an expert. This was completely left field. No idea. You can't run from a winter storm the way you can move away from a hurricane. Hunkering down in a winter storm is different than hunkering down for a hurricane. How do you prepare? Please tell us, let us know, because apparently, like Juan said, when it happens again, it's gonna happen. Anyway, so
Yeah. And before we leave, I do want to say, mention one thing that's pretty important, especially if you're in the Houston area, if you're in Harris or Fort Bend County. So one of the sponsors for our shows, as you know, is Comcast. And Comcast in Houston was actually responsive, and they were actually doing good work in the community as well during the freeze and after the freeze. So definitely a lot of credit to them for their participation and their support of the community, like always. But what I want to share with you today about that Comcast is that the Comcast Rise Initiative or the investment fund, they're offering $10,000 grants right now for business owners. And the requirements are basically that you're in business for 3 years, that you have no more than 25 employees, so anywhere from 1 to 25 employees, and that you apply. The application is like 10 to 15 minutes. It's online. You can go to comcastrise.com and you can apply, and everybody that is awarded a grant is going to get $10,000. So it's not, that you're going to get between 1 and 10,000. No, you get $10,000 if you win the award. So
if you're awarded the grant.
If you're awarded the grant.
Not win, if you're awarded the grant.
Yeah. And the deadline to apply is coming up real soon, which is why I'm mentioning it. I'm stressing it here, but it's March 14th is the deadline. So that's in a couple of days from now.
Oh, dang.
So,
Juan.
Yeah,
but if it's a 10-minute application, right? Just get your application in.
Yeah.
As long as you get your application in, the rest of the process, it's going to be what it is. So, I guess today's the 11th. I guess this is going to go up.
Yeah, this will go up pretty soon. I'm going to try to get it up as soon as possible. But definitely, I one of the things, I held a panel with them on Facebook recently, so you might have seen that, where we talked about with several local chambers as well. And one of the messages that they really expressed is like the chamber leaders. They said, even if you don't think you're going to get it, or if you're not sure, apply anyway. It's 10 minutes, and that's all it's going to take. And think about it, if you'd spend 10 minutes. That's like that's $1,000 a minute that you might earn just from filling out at the application. And even if you don't get this one, it's a good step to maybe practicing for the next one that you might get.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Well, not only that, but they have you in the system. So if you applied for that and they have another grant that you might qualify, they'll send you an email.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apply. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and thank you for listening to our free story. And with that.
So thank you for watching.
Every time I try to do the close, you're like, no, that's not the way you do it.
So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Again, we'd like to hear your story. If you are also part of the winter freeze, the same way, if you're a local Texans, if you're a fellow Texan, let us know how you dealt with it. Thank you so much for watching. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Hasta luego.
Bye.
Bye.